Okay, today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to a train show. This is the Monroe train show in Monroe, Washington. The show benefits the Snohomish County 4-H Foundation. The cool thing about this foundation is they actually have N-scale TT model modules that they use. So the TT is the tabletop for N-scale, and they actually have a project that they share with the university or at the Washington State University to get kids involved in model railroading and other items. So this is kind of neat because all of this money goes to make sure that these kids get into a hobby and have things to do and get to go places and get to interact with trains all over the place. So this is kind of a fun thing that works for the community. So here's everybody lined up, ready to go in, and now we start. We start off with the first set of modules. You can see it's a little TT. So the kids are encouraged to do a small set model for an N scale. And then all of these modules have to hook together, and there's no limits to what they're allowed to do. You can see here a Millennium Falcon. The explanation on what the T-track is. The kids range in age from 5 or 6 all the way up to teenagers. None of the kids were at the site at the time that we were going through. The other thing that's cool is they do put on a lot of activities for kids. So this is one of those switching box activities that the kids can actually come in and play with and move it around and try to get the cars switched. So over here they've branched out from the N scale and started doing some HO scale. And again, these are all under 18 and they all work for the 4-H group in Snohomish County. So you can see they've done quite a bit of stuff, all kinds of different things. Whatever it is that they want to model, they either buy the stuff or it gets donated. I've donated stuff to them before, especially in N scale that I accidentally bought. But they do a pretty good job. So when they talk about nobody getting into it and all that, this is what we see. We get to come here and see kids actually performing stuff and getting into the hobby. Now we've switched over to one of the 3 buildings. This is the main building. This is just kind of general overview of all the tables that's here. And we're not going to go through the vendors. There's a couple of vendors I'm going to show you guys, but I'm mostly going to go through the train sets that we had. So check these guys out. These guys are just artists. They're not hobby guys. They just do their art in different scales. So this guy just really likes building up scenery and scenes. He scratch builds and modifies or does whatever for the different buildings. Yeah, sorry for the video here. Could have done a little bit better. I thought I was capturing both of them, but you can see here, this one I kind of zoom in on a little bit more. But he's done an incredible job and does incredible detail and weathering. And he does this all for his art. It's not a hobby. This is his art. Well, it's kind of a hobby, but this is what he does, and he considers himself an artist and not a model hobby person. And he was actually selling some of the stuff at the show this year. So, and we have another guy who does sort of the same thing. He sort of focuses on like steampunk railroad paraphernalia and all that. You'll see in a minute, but he does some major weathering jobs and has a lot of things that he's scratch built cars. He's got this carload here. It's kind of fun, some of the stuff that he did, and it ranges in the different scales too. You can see that he kind of models the northwest kind of logging camps and all that with some of his stuff that he's done. A little bit of eclectic collections to make his engines and things like that for pulling stuff. And he had all kinds of these different things. It was kind of neat that he had such an array of items and the detailing that he put on it, the time of work that he put on it, and the weathering that he did. You can see here he's got some HO scale stuff. He didn't have any N scale, but then he goes up to the larger scales. Some of it's ON3, some of it is just G scale sort of, but all of it really, really kind of cool looking, which is nice for a change, and everything kind of works. And then this last guy that we got to check out, he's got these cargo ships, and he buys these cargo ships off of eBay, and they're in different scales. The bad thing is most of them are in Z scale, but there are some N scales. Like this destroyer here was about an N scale destroyer. The tanker here is right around Z scale, but this is what's really cool. This container ship that he got is actually in N scale. You can see that the containers and all that are real close to what N scale would be. They're probably a little bit small. And then again, for those Z scale people, I mean, could you imagine having a port and the tanker sitting there showing up, and then a tank train to take all the oil off of it and all? I mean, you could really detail a port with some of these things. And even if you put them out in the distance or something, you could still use them. And they were kind of reasonably priced. I mean, it was $400 for the tanker, and this is like $325 for the N scale guy. I got his information if anybody's ever interested, but he does just go on eBay and looks for scale ships, and he finds them on there as well. Okay, so that was it for kind of the neat stuff that I saw. So now we're going to go ahead and look at some of the layouts that were at the show. So our first group is, as you saw, was the Northwest Model Railroaders. This is an N-scale layout, module layout that they have. This is the first time I've seen these guys. This was a really large layout, and this was one of several. There's a lot of N-scale guys. So for you guys who like N-scale, here you go. Here's something to model after. Container man, here's your container yard, everything coming off. Yeah, sorry, I'm still kind of trying to work out my my phone skills here. This was all done with the phone. I didn't want to carry a clunky camera around. They really did some nice details, had some really nice bridges. This is another N-scale layout, or it's actually still on the same N-scale layout. This one was still a lot of in work, but I thought you guys might like to see how many trucks you can actually put into a yard on an N-scale layout. You can see he's got the Pilot gas station, the McDonald's is ready there, he's got the 7-Eleven. Really, really nicely laid out. Some nice mountains here, Amtrak going by. His little industrial complex. There was a lot of neat little things. Nice new apartment building. And these fit together really well. And you can see there's a Santa Fe train coming through. Lots of mixed freight. Nice layout. They did a good job of putting it together. And this is the layout over in one of the outer buildings. It actually wasn't in the main building. The main building ones are going to be coming up. So got you some train run-bys. Thought that this would be kind of nice to watch. Good old mixed freight. Here comes the containers. A lot more detail shots. Another town and a city. All right, so this is one of several N-scale layouts that we have. This is the N-scale model railroaders. A lot of the kids liked it. There was a lot of fun little details here. You can see here we got the Wienermobile out there at Bob's in the little town. They did a nice little job. We got the motorcycle scooter shop here. Guy's having a little bit of a problem with a scooter. I think that's a scooter, yep. Or it could be a motorcycle. No, that's a little scooter he's dumping. Lots of people working on their cars and all that. Nice brick face. Really, really nice run by here on this, I think it's an FP7 unit of an ore train. The detail that these guys did, really nice job of ballasting. They got the rails all painted, and you can see all the ties are painted. They lots of use of colors and things like that. Even have the moss on the rocks like there is in the Northwest out here. And there's tons of moss. So we go on, you can see here they've got their scrap yard. There's a few more sections that come up. Lots of logging, lots of timber and lumber out in this area. Nice bridge crossings. This is kind of fun. This is their Starburst delivery vehicle. It actually comes out of that engine shed over there is where they drop the Starburst, but I missed that part. And they take it over to this little covered engine shed. Boom, comes on over, drops out, and the kids get to have a Starburst. So then we move on to our next setup. So we've gone from N scale, which are pretty small, now we're down to Z scale. So these guys, this is the first time I've seen them at the show, but this is their Z scale layout. Again, it's another module layout. You can see the pink bullet train go flying on through there past the rapids. Some of this, not everything on the Z scale was all built up and ready to go yet, so I didn't quite get to take as many pictures of it, but these guys were having a lot of fun. There's another Amtrak train, and then there's the bullet train again. They just had this on a continuous loop circle that was going around. We'll see these guys again in a couple of minutes. They were telling me that no, these are not scale speed matching. The Amtrak train is just going around slow, and the bullet train is going way too fast. This is another kind of home, one setup Z scale kit or module that a guy did himself that wasn't really hooked up to the main line. He had this set up. It was probably like a 4x4 or so. Then we go back to the modules over here. Another module actually on Z scale. So this one's still obviously a lot in work. Lots of switchback roads and the white styrofoam. Now we go to an ON3 layout, which again is logging. This one was actually pretty large. They did not have a square or continuous run. They actually had this point to point, and it had like 3 or 4 prongs off of it. They did an amazing job of detailing it, and these guys were really happy. This particular scene coming up, I know that this guy has been building this wharf and dock area, oh my God, for a couple of years now. You can see he doesn't even have the water poured yet. I remember when I first saw this, all he had was the pier. All of this was hand done and hand laid. This guy has been taking a lot of care in doing everything that he put up here. All of this is the scale lumber. He's got the pier that comes out, a pier or a bridge. I'm not exactly sure what he's building on there. But he still has some more work to do, apparently, on this layout. You can see here, all hand done, just amazing. Then we've got the actual trees. We got a bunch of clear cuts. You can tell that people know how to do logging around here because the trees are notched. They're not just straight cut off. They like their clear cuts. This is one of their engines that they had running. I was hoping to get this guy in a run by, but as they started moving out, they got a red light because another train had priority coming in. But just really, really nice detail. And they got the lumber to stoke. Oh, I didn't realize that they had an alien from Doctor Who actually running the train. That's kind of fun. You can see that they've got the load coming out, the pulps and stuff like that coming out from the lumber mill that they've done back over here. Turntable, engine shed. It's one of the ends. It's another one of the ends over on that side. So a lot of these shows, a lot of the layouts that were here, they make up a lot of fun for the kids. They put in little things, they give them little cards. Can you find all of this stuff? We'll see that in another layout a little bit farther down, which was another ON3 layout. So, sorry about the camera work. I'm just, first time I've done this with my phone, so this just keeps meandering around and around and around. More cities and towns. Another section of the area that they're doing. The brick plant, where they've got all their bricks getting worked, or tiles or something like that. Really nice job. And then they have their wharf with their fish, the tribal fish from salmon and all coming in to get taken into parts wherever. One of their many Ys and turnoffs that were going on in this layout. It just kept going for a long time, but nice detail. They were working on a lot of different things here. A little logging town. Another section of their logging areas. The detail logging house. I was hoping to get a little bit more in stuff here, but the crowds, were pretty heavy, so it was kind of hard to see. You can see that the layout just goes on and on and on. More details. So now we go on to an HO scale layout. They didn't have who they were. It wasn't marked. I think part of this might have been the end of the Kitsap one, if I remember right. So you can see they've got logging operations. They got their cattle. Little grain elevator here. Did a nice job. Partly scratch built, partly model kit built. We come into our little town where all the workers are at. These guys were having some problems with some of the trains that they were running. They were trying to get some loops up, and I think what happened, they're over here trying to fix a power problem that they had while they were trying to run this around. Modern diesel facility they've got here that they're building out. Little on-the-fly soldering that was going on. Some trains. I believe, like I said, I'm pretty sure this was one of the HO scale layouts. I could be wrong. Aggregate station, that was all hand built. And then we've got another loco coming by here. One of the Great Northern coal trains. We're just going to speed along next to the train that they're having problems with moving. Mixed freight on this one. And then they finally got it going. Just as I almost caught up. So there's city. Sorry, I'm into scenery a lot, not so much in the trains. I kind of forget you guys like to see go-bys and all that. This was a refinery area that they had. A lot of these are very, very portable. These guys move these stuff around to quite a few different shows. I've seen them in quite a few different areas. This was really neat. This was a neat setup for an actual sawmill, kind of a rustic little sawmill. But here's some incredible detail. I mean, every one of the pieces of wood, you can tell, were hand cut and all. He's got a guy working the saw inside there. He's got just enough spacing to be able to see inside. That goes up to the feeder belt. That goes into the waste burn. And then this shed was one of their other saw sheds. It's seen a lot of better life. Lots of the metal roof is pulling up. It's just really nice hammered out details. And then over across the way, the logging support camp with all of the tractors and pullers and so forth. So now we go to the N-scale mountain railroad. This was another large one. This shows up at a lot of different shows as well. We're going to start at the power plant area. Again, this is an N-scale, and you can see that they've actually put in the electrical wires. And we're going to come all the way back to this electric plant while we go around this layout. This is another really large layout and kind of a fan favorite. They've been to a lot of different shows, and you'll see why a lot of the people like this one. There's several towns on here. There's several different areas that they model, and it really, really flows together nicely. These guys have been around for a long time. They have a couple of different Ys. This one is actually just a dead Y in this particular case, but we get to show you a little bit of the yards that they use when they come to these shows in the center section. Just all kinds of, I mean, the backgrounds that they put in there, some of them are real, some of them are painted, or not real, but some of them are, photographs. And here they are constructing something else again this year. It's really fun. They do a lot of construction on here. You can see again the mountains in the background, coaling station, or green coal, whatever that is. Maybe it's glass that they're doing. I don't know. Church, looks like there's a burial going on up there. Lots of cows in the field. Probably the dairy barn. Well, we have lots of dairies out here. Rustlers in the background. Roadworks. Just, this is one of their other little town sections that they've got. That comes up here. Yeah, I know, I missed the auto train, but we're going to get back to that one because that's going to be running here for a while. It's a pretty big, huge auto train that they've got. They were having troubles with this one too. Apparently the cars in N scale are a little bit lighter than the cars in HO, so they're having a bit of derailing problems with them. So you can see, nice little town. They got the propane tanks, they had the feed mill, everything that you'd kind of see in a small little town. And then over here we've got one of our lumber facilities, I think, and there goes the freight cars. And another Great Northern engine coming by. So they were running a couple of continuous loop trains going around. One of them was the car carrying train, the other one was the passenger train. Nice detailing. They had some really nice vehicles and cars. Then we have our cow freight that was going by. That was actually, they actually had sound cars in that, so you could hear the cows and the livestock in the cars as it went by. It was really hard to hear it though at the actual show because of the background noises and things. So that's why I kind of cut this out. It was really hard to hear a lot of the stuff. So then they've got their cement facility, or actually their concrete batching plant. So you had a siding. These were probably 2.5 to 3 feet deep on the modules. You can see there's lots and lots of track that they put in. Another rail car going by. I forget which one was on. This might have been the Santa Fe. Lots of observation cars. It was a pretty nice passenger train going by. And then we keep going on. Some more freight sitting out. This is where they're having their problems. So I decided not to film that portion of it. But you can see they did a really nice job. Another grain elevator with a grain car sitting there, either getting ready to load or unload. He's getting ready to go out into the hayfield. Nice jobs on the bridges. And we keep coming around. Mind you, this is still just one layout. This was in dedication, I think, to one of their guys who had passed away. This was their camping setup, I think. This was one of their other wives that goes off to their yard. You can see that they have a large yard with turnaround tracks and all. A pickle factory with the General Lee, I guess, or moonshine, one or the other. So here's another interesting one. You can see here they're getting ready to build a house. They're pouring the foundations and all that. Again, this is N scale. Another Wienermobile, but they're moving this one this time. And then we have, this was another one. This guy has been building this house for 5 or 6 years. Actually, what he does, it's a scene that he has set up that normally in the beginning of the cycles of doing train shows, this starts out as a basement. And then as the year progresses, they finally finished building the house. I've never seen the completed house, but it's kind of a fun thing that they do. Another little town out in the middle of nowhere. Ice loading platform just down below, just out of range there. Sorry about that. There comes the passenger train again. Snow sheds, we see a lot of those out in the northwest here. We get lots of snow up in the mountain passes. So the snow sheds are used to keep the tracks clear or for avalanche control when the avalanches come down. One of the fun parts of the show. This guy has done an amazing job on World War II Army Depot. So Camp Deception, the Army Battalion. Sometimes he actually runs these trains. A lot of times they're over here in a static display. Again, all N scale. Even the military guys are N scale. So he's got loading platforms, people getting ready to go out. I think I was getting a little hungry here, so it's not as clear. But then he's got a training facility. So all these guys are training to go to war and getting ready to go on those troop transports. You can see that some of the guys who are in the Army probably recognize some of the training facilities that they have, and then they got the big medical thing at the end of the training route. It's got the ropes course set up. People going over walls, people climbing under stuff, people having to run the rails. They've got, you can see it's all hemmed in, really nice work. They had the medical section, and now we go over here to the actual battalion getting ready to load up on the troop trains, getting ready to go out and go to war. And then they've got the facilities depot, and all of the vehicles set up. Just really, really neat way that he's got this done. And then he finally ends up, and then we get back into the town. Here's a little bit more of that auto car train going on by. Then we also have a barge. If we didn't have enough scenery, we also have a barge. There are actually some barges in the Pacific Northwest. I actually had the privilege of working with a company that took barges up to Alaska, and they fill them with trains. The barges that go up to Alaska, some of the ones are kind of neat. Some of them are just containers. Some of them are rail car ones, and then they have a few where they actually have rail cars on the bottom, and it has an upper deck, and on the upper deck they fill it up with trailers. So lots of work. And then you can see here, logging camp, a little bit more modern day. I don't know how modern, but looks like the 50s or 60s where they're using trucks and all. And then over to the logging mill, which was on the water, so it was a water feed log mill. Got our train going on by. Oh, and then before we get out to the electric plant, we come up to our intermodal yard. So, of course, the trains have just come in, so we got the loads of truckers waiting to pick up their loads. And then we come to the actual intermodal yard. So we've got the trailer loads there, and then we've got all of our blanks. A couple of really nice loaders there, and then we've got all of the different types of container cars and stuff, from the double stack packs to regular ones and all. They did a really nice job. Large container yard. You can see that they've gone and done lots and lots of detail work over on this, and then they've got the facility to even work on everything. So they did a nice job. Really large yard. And then we finish off again where we started off, which is at the coal-fired electric plant. So this is the back side of it, which is where we started the whole thing at on the front. So it looks like we've come to the end of this railroad. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold off a little bit so that this isn't a killer video that's just too long, and I'm going to continue the rest of the layouts on another video and upload this one. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this part of it. We'll see what else we've got to come. There's still a few more layouts that were really nice, and again, this was a great show. Alright, hope you guys enjoy this. Talk to you later.